I'm Graceland Johns, and I'm here with Miss Vissy, and we're gonna talk about her past. So, when were you born,
January 22nd, 1952,
and where?
Fairhope, Alabama.
So, was it a struggle for you living during that period of time?
Well, I don't think my early childhood years were a struggle,
Mm-hmm.
but then in the 1960s, things began to change dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even when I was born in Fairhope, it was so tiny, there wasn't even a hospital. I was born in a clinic.
Oh.
So things were very simple. But my father worked for an oil company and we moved around a lot, and I think sometimes that was difficult, but yet at the same time, I learned a lot of things from
Mm-hmm.
moving to different places. But then I had a pen pal
Mm-hmm.
who was in the Air Force, who finally went in the Air Force. And I finally, at the beginning of I guess my third year of college, I went to visit her, and that kind of got that idea in my head. And so ultimately, in the spring of 1974, I withdrew from college and I joined the Air Force as an enlisted person. And that was at the tail end of Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
And we hear about Vietnam veterans, and those veterans are veterans who actually served in Vietnam. But I am what's called a Vietnam era veteran. And era, of course, means a period of time. And basically that means that I was part of the military during the Vietnam time. It doesn't mean that I went to Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the interesting things about my time in the service is that women were not expected to serve in any kind of combat. So the consequence of that is we actually had no combat training. We didn't even learn to shoot a rifle or a pistol during basic training. And because of the war, basic training was only 6 weeks, which today now it's 8 weeks. But they were trying to get people generated through basic training as quickly as possible, especially those that were going to go to Vietnam and fight in Vietnam. So I had done, well, I don't mean to brag, but I actually had the highest score of any female on the test in the state of Alabama. So they had encouraged me to serve in avionics, inertial, and radar navigation, which is actually an electronics field. And it really wasn't of any interest to me. And ultimately, I managed to get my way out of that. And they switched me over to an administrative job, which is really kind of like a secretarial job. And so I actually got married in the Air Force. And when my husband got orders, I was able to apply for orders to the same place. So I went to Colorado for a year and was attached to Buckley Air National Guard Base, even though I worked at Lowry. And the interesting thing about that was that they were in charge of Cheyenne Mountain, which is where we had secretly hidden B-52 airplanes. And if the mountain opened up, then all of Russia started to aim their missiles at us. And that actually happened twice during, what would you call it, practice runs, which was a big no-no because it was an accident. But once our mountain opened up with those B-52s, that meant that Russia was aiming missiles at us. So we lost 2 commanders in that 1 year that I was in Colorado. But then we went to Japan, and I was stationed with 5th Air Force. And 5th Air Force, even though it's the Air Force, is in charge of everything that goes on in the Far East. And I worked for munitions, which means we were in charge. They sometimes call it BB counting. You know, like you're counting every little BB you're going to shoot, but you're really talking about all the weapons that are involved. Missiles, rifles, guns, atomic warfare, everything was involved in that. And our personnel had to go constantly over to Korea because we were watching that border there just like we do today. There's that split between Northern Korea and Southern Korea. And so my guys went all the time, but as the clerical person, I didn't get to go all the time. But finally there was an ad in the paper and I did get to go, and I did not realize when I was going that it was actually an experiment with women in combat. And it's called, in those days, it was referred to as Red Horse. And this went on every year as a practice for combat. Well, when I got there, there were 600 men and 6 women. And I also did not know that I would be the ranking female. So every day they would have a meeting, and every day I would have to go to the meetings and tell them what was going well for the females, what was not going well. And it was really very exciting. And you know, one of the funny things was that the guys got mad because we suddenly got to use the Quonset hut bathroom, and the guys had to go into a tent where there was a bathroom. Well, that was because every time it was our turn, they just barge into the tent. So that's why they couldn't go. We couldn't go in there anymore because they didn't respect